Even though we human beings think we are increasingly rational, in reality we're not as rational as we think. Biases infiltrate and fool us during meetings which are supposed to be the epitome of rationality. Biases lead us to false beliefs which result in wrong conclusions, poor choices, and the waste of financial resources. So we are going to give you our top 3 most disruptive biases during meetings. Let's start with the first one, the anchoring effect. In a classic study, Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman secretly fixed a roulette wheel to land on either 10 or 65. The subjects sitting in front of the wheel were then asked to guess the percentage of members of the United Nations that were in Africa. The roulette wheel is an example of irrelevant information that managed to influence the participants. As a result, the average guess after a spin of 10 was 25%. For a spin of 65, it was 45%. So why on earth does roulette wheels influence our estimated percentage of African countries in the United Nations? This is called the anchoring effect. We have a tendency to fixate on items that occur in our proximity. These influence our decision making. For example, when an item in a shop is on sale, we tend to see and value the difference in price, but not the overall price itself. This often leads us to spend more than intentioned. In meetings, anchoring leads to a first mover advantage. Discussions will tend to focus on the first suggestions. Mr. Kahneman recommends that to overcome this, every participant should write a brief summary of their position and circulate it prior to the discussion. Number 2, the information bias. Because of the information bias, we tend to seek more information even when this extra information does not affect the final action or is irrelevant to make a decision. In the face of uncertainty, we tend to look for more information to increase the level of uncertainty. The problem is that this equation does not always hold up, and it leads to an illusion of safety and certainty. For example, in an experiment, subjects were presented with a patient that has 80% chance of having disease X. The subject then had to decide to either administer a test or not to administer the test to help the decision on the correct treatment. However, if the test was positive, there's also a 50% chance of detecting disease Y. In the case the test is negative, there would be a 50% chance of detecting disease Z. So what happened? Many subjects answered that they would conduct the test even if it were costly. However, the test in question does not affect the course of action as to what treatment should be done, because the probability of disease X is so high with a probability of 80%, the patient would be treated for disease X no matter what the test says. As we saw in this experiment, the information bias can lead to bad decisions, which are costly and timely. Number 3, the halo effect. The halo effect is also known as owning the room. If one aspect of an idea or argument seems appealing, people tend to judge its other features more favorably too. The halo effect is strongly intertwined with affect heuristic, which in simple terms means that we let our current emotions influence our decisions and focus. For example, good-looking speakers win audiences over more easily. Another example is that polished slides or a well-edited video will make a presentation seem more compelling. Do you remember I told you I was going to present the top 3 most disruptive biases during a meeting? Did you believe me? I lied. There are countless different biases that can be equally disruptive depending on the setting. We are not as rational as we think. So if there's an important lesson to be learned, it's that during meetings which have to result in important decisions, Keeping an eye out for all types of biases will prevent us from taking foolish decisions.